Welcome to our channel, all friends. If you are new to my channel, please subscribe my channel and press the bell icon to stay update for new videos. Thanks. Let's start new video. I had been sitting at the Chaudhry's residence with my wife for what felt like an eternity. For me, enduring that pain while sitting there was already unbearable, but I had no choice. I had been visiting the Chaudhry's place for several days, pleading for help, telling him that I had a kidney problem. I begged him to help me, even if just out of charity, but he refused to listen. Today, my wife said, "I'll go with you myself to see Chaudhry Sahib. I'll ask for help, and if needed, I'll lay my scarf at his feet. If he has any shame or honor left, he will help us." My wife loved me deeply. She didn't want to lose me. She was willing to go to any extent to save my life. Both my kidneys were failing, and I desperately needed treatment, which required a lot of money. My wife had started going everywhere, even begging like a pauper. She was prepared to do anything to save my life. We were newly married. It hadn't even been a year yet. It was a love marriage, and suddenly I was struck by this kidney problem. She always kept her beautiful hands dyed with henna. She would say, "Nothing will happen to you. I will always remain a bride, inshallah." Her words would bring tears to my eyes. That poor soul loved me so much, and here I was, struck by fate and unable to even bring her happiness. It was after great difficulty that we were finally allowed to enter. Holding onto her scarf tightly, my wife walked with me into Chaudhry Sahib's room. He was sitting in the guest area where he usually met his special visitors. Upon seeing us, he made a strange face and asked coldly, "What is your complaint?" The villagers often came to Chaudhry Sahib with complaints. I replied, "Chaudhry Sahib, I have no complaint. I've been coming here for days, but today, my wife has brought me here. She wants to speak with you." As I gestured toward my wife, tears began to stream from her eyes. Her face was covered with a veil, only her eyes visible. And even through them, her beauty was undeniable. It was as if Chaudhry Sahib had become lost in her tearful gaze. He said, Girl, what's the matter? Why are you crying so much? Stop crying and tell me your problem." With great difficulty, my wife composed herself. She removed her veil and metaphorically placed her dignity and pride at Chaudhry Sahib's feet, her full beauty now apparent before him. She spoke, "Sir, I am not asking you for anything except my husband's life. It hasn't even been a year since our marriage, and he has developed a serious kidney disease. We need money for his treatment. I've come to your doorstep like a beggar. I am a proud woman. I have never begged from anyone before. But my love for my husband has forced me to stretch out my hand. My husband has come here before, but he received no help. So I told him that I would come myself and lay my scarf at your feet. Surely Chaudhry Sahib will feel pity. Please, I beg you, help my husband with his treatment. In return, I'm ready to give you whatever you ask. I'm even willing to work in your mansion for the rest of my life without a salary. Just save my husband. He's always been self-respecting, earning and feeding both of us with dignity. But now fate has struck him with such an illness that he can't even get out of bed. Even bringing him here today was a tremendous struggle. He can barely sit, but what choice do the poor have? They're forced to do even what seems impossible." My wife, with folded hands, pleaded through her sobs. And it was as if Chaudhry Sahib had completely fallen under the spell of her beauty. He couldn't utter a word. My wife truly was extraordinarily beautiful. She wasn't from this village. I had married her from another village. She was somewhat educated, and she always stood out from everyone else. Her beauty was such that even in poverty, she looked like a royal moon, like a blooming rose. After thinking for a while, Chaudhry Sahib finally said, "All right, I'll arrange your husband's treatment. I have a friend who's a doctor and specializes in kidney-related issues. I'll send you to him. Yes, the treatment will be completely free. You don't need to worry. You both have come to me with such hope. I won't send you back disappointed. I still have humanity left in me." Hearing his words brought immense joy to both of us. We thanked him gratefully, and my wife began praying for him wholeheartedly. He smiled and said, "Helping the poor is what I live for." When a girl comes to me with such hope, it becomes my duty to honor that. I'm not so stone-hearted. I know how to respect a woman, And when a woman lays her scarf at my feet, I too, as an honorable man, must act with dignity. Saying this, Chaudhry Sahib picked up my wife's scarf, placed it back over her head, then gently rested his hand on her shoulder to comfort her. Had this happened at any other time, I might not have tolerated it, but I was in so much pain and distress that I couldn't comprehend anything properly. All I wanted was relief from this suffering. The pain had numbed my pride into a deep sleep. My wife was pleading with another man for money, and I was completely helpless. I just wanted her voice to be heard quickly, and when it finally was, I felt peace. I just needed the pain to end. We returned home happily that day. My wife was overjoyed and kept praying for Chaudhry Sahib. The very next day, he arrived at our house himself in his car and said, "I will personally take you both to the hospital." We were stunned by his generosity. We had only heard that he was a harsh and strict man, but clearly that was a misunderstanding. He turned out to be very kind. He took us in his car to a very large clinic, which belonged to his doctor friend. Chaudhry Sahib told us that he had already spoken to the doctor over the phone, and now my treatment would begin. Hearing this gave us some relief. My wife had brought along some clothes and a few essentials, just in case we needed to stay at the hospital. It was a good thing she did, because we did end up staying. The doctor said it would be a minor operation. He explained that there were kidney stones and some accumulated bacteria that needed to be removed. After the procedure, everything would be fine, and I would be able to live a healthy life again. The operation was scheduled for the next day. My wife was praying fervently for me, and Chaudhry Sahib kept checking in on us. His presence gave us a lot of courage. We asked him, "You won't charge us for this, will you?" And he replied, "No, not a single rupee will be taken from you." Even our food and other needs at the clinic were being provided for free. The operation was done, and I was still semi-conscious. I realized I couldn't move in my lower body. The doctor said, "It's because of the anesthesia. Your lower body hasn't regained feeling yet." An entire day passed at the hospital, then another. But still, I felt no movement in my lower half. I told the doctor, "My body is still numb." He said, "It's nothing serious. I just gave you a higher dose of anesthesia. Your lower body will stay numb for about a week. You can go home now." We returned home. My wife prepared my bed and helped me lie down on the charpoy. She sat beside me, waiting through iftar time, but still my lower body remained lifeless. When Chaudhry Sahib came to visit, my wife said, "Chaudhry Sahib, we don't know what kind of operation the doctor did. His lower body is still completely numb. We're very worried. It's been more than a week, but there's been no sign of recovery." For the sake of saving my life, my wife stayed silent and tried to find a way for us to escape from this village. She wanted us to leave overnight, but I couldn't even walk. That was the problem. If I had the strength in my legs, we wouldn't have to endure this torture. But I was completely helpless, lying there lifeless. This had become a daily routine. Every night, Chaudhry Sahib, along with his servants, would come to our house. He would lock my wife in a room and torment her throughout the night, while I remained a silent spectator, lying on the charpoy. One day, Chaudhry's servant came and told my wife, "Chaudhry Sahib has summoned you to the mansion. If you refuse, we will kill your husband right here." I told my wife, "Let me die, just don't go." But once again, she, poor soul, went to Chaudhry's mansion to save my life. This became a regular thing. Chaudhry no longer visited personally. Instead, he would send a car for my wife every night, and she would go to him in the car. I kept thinking, how did life bring us to this point? It had been 2 years since that fateful day when I visited my wife's village. It was a coincidence that I saw her there, and I fell in love with her at first sight. She was the one for me, and we both fell in love with each other at first sight. My wife's name was Nori. I sent a proposal to her house, and they quickly accepted. Our families were delighted, and we got married. We had vowed to live and die together. Sometimes I would think that my love came to me so easily, but today I truly understood why all of this was happening. I realized that this was the destiny that awaited me after marriage. That's why I was so easily able to win her heart. We had only been married for 8 months, and already this catastrophe had fallen upon me. My body was completely lifeless, and my wife was subjected to torment every night. My heart wept tears of blood. I was no longer a protector for my wife. I had started to feel disgusted with my own existence. Right in front of me, that Chaudhry would commit such horrific atrocities against my wife. He would tear her apart, shred her honor, and I could do absolutely nothing. Today again, Chaudhry had summoned her to the mansion. I felt like ending my life. These moments had become unbearable for me. Before leaving, my wife looked at me with tear-filled eyes. I lowered my gaze in shame. But today, something felt different. There was something unusual in her eyes, as if something bad was going to happen. When she was about to leave, I motioned for her to come closer. She came to me, and I gestured for her to bend down. As she leaned in, I whispered in her ear, "Don't do anything reckless. Take care of yourself." Without saying a word, she left. I kept looking at her until her back disappeared from my sight. In the last hours of the night, my wife rushed back inside the house in a panic. I never used to sleep until she returned home safely. But today, the terror on her face made me feel something was terribly wrong. It seemed as though whatever I feared had already happened. She opened the door and brought in a trolley. I stared at her in confusion, wondering what she was trying to do. I asked her, "What happened? Why are you bringing this trolley inside? Why do you look so terrified? Is everything okay?" But without saying a word, she began trying to lift me onto the trolley. It was extremely difficult for her, but she was determined to move me. And after putting in great effort, she finally managed to shift me onto it. Holding the trolley with all her strength, she started dragging me outside, trying to run away. I kept asking her, "Wife, what happened? Why are you so scared? Where are you taking me?" While dragging me, she suddenly said, "I have killed the Chaudhry." She continued, "When he tried to force himself on me, I became so furious that I couldn't control myself. I grabbed the dagger lying nearby and tore open his chest. My heart screamed with joy. It felt like someone had breathed life into my paralyzed body. I was overwhelmed with a strange sense of relief and happiness. But then worry struck me again, because my wife had just gone up against the wrong man. The Chaudhry's family was extremely dangerous. His circle of influence could have us killed if we were caught. I asked her, "Where are we headed now?" She replied, "We're going to the city. It's a big place. They won't be able to find us there. We'll get you treated, make you better, and we'll never return to that cursed place." My wife was running on raw emotion. Her ability to think rationally had shut down. But I was still somewhat clear-headed, and I was thinking, we'll be entering the city's boundaries soon at this pace. My wife was moving fast, so it wouldn't take long, but I wasn't sure where we would go once inside. We didn't know anyone in the city. Then suddenly I remembered. My cousin, my uncle's son, lived there. I told my wife, "I'll take you somewhere safe. Some of my relatives live there." Without replying, she kept dragging the trolley with urgency. When we crossed into the outskirts of the city, she abruptly stopped to catch her breath. She was exhausted. We rested for a little while. After that, we resumed our journey. We both knew that by now the entire village would have found out about the Chaudhry's murder, and that the woman who had killed him had fled. After a short rest, we resumed our journey toward my cousin's house. Just a few hours later, we reached his doorstep. But before we could even knock on the door, the Chaudhry's men caught us. They forcibly dragged us back to the village. It was a terrifying experience for me. My wife was equally shaken. We had been just one step away from safety, but our enemies had reached us first. Those ruthless men tied both of us to a tree in the middle of the village. The Chaudhry's father sat in front of the village council, his eyes burning with fury. Everyone around us glared with hatred. As cruel as the Chaudhry had been, people still respected him. He had helped them in different ways, and they had given him their loyalty and support in return. The Chaudhry's father gave the order, "Stone both of them to death. They murdered my son." People began to pick up stones, ready to carry out the punishment. But before the first stone could be thrown, my wife suddenly screamed with all her strength, "That Chaudhry committed horrible crimes against me." She cried, "He took advantage of our helplessness. He used to summon me to his mansion at night and warn that if I told anyone, he would kill my husband. I couldn't bear the thought of losing my husband, so I kept quiet." Everyone who had been ready to stone us now froze in shock, listening to her every word. She went on, "He promised to treat my husband's illness, to get him a new kidney. But instead, he ruined his body, left him paralyzed from the waist down. My husband lost the ability to walk, and that monster exploited his condition to violate me night after night. I tried everything to protect myself, but I am just a woman. I couldn't fight him. In the end, I broke. But yesterday, my wife continued, when he once again tried to come near me, to force himself upon me, my heart nearly burst. I couldn't bear to see my husband's helplessness or to watch my dignity being stripped away again. In a fit of rage, I grabbed the dagger lying nearby and stabbed him in the chest. She paused, then asked the village, "Tell me, if a woman's husband falls ill in this village, does that mean she is no longer safe? Is she no longer worthy of respect or protection?" The entire crowd responded in one voice. "You should have told us. We would never have let that Chaudhry humiliate you like this. Now you don't have to worry. We'll protect you both." A kind-hearted man stepped forward and began to untie us. By then I had almost collapsed, drained and broken. The men of the village lifted me gently and placed me on a bed. They turned to the Chaudhry's father and said firmly, "Chaudhry Sahib, we have always respected you, but what your son did to a woman from our village is beyond forgiveness. It's best you leave now and don't interfere in our matters ever again." The old Chaudhry stood there in disbelief, watching as the power he once held crumbled before him. From that day on, the villagers stood by us. They helped arrange proper medical treatment for me and kept my wife safe. Thanks to the care and support, I soon began to recover. I even started to walk again, slowly but surely. And I often think to myself, if my wife hadn't found the courage that day, we might still be living under that monster's shadow, with our dignity in ruins. There are people in this world who exploit the poor, who destroy others' honor without a second thought, without any fear of God. Some, when given power, become tyrants, thinking themselves above everyone else. That is why in Islam, a just ruler is given a high rank. The Prophet, peace be upon him, taught us to honor those who rule with fairness and integrity, because justice is the foundation of a righteous society. It is such people, those who are just, that Allah grants power on this earth. He gives them the perfect opportunity. They can rule with fairness and earn paradise, or misuse their authority and head toward hell. But many people, when they rise to power or gain positions where they could help the poor and the helpless, they choose not to. Instead, they exploit the weak. Such people should remember the fear of Allah. Chaudhry's rule was temporary, and it came crashing down. If he had ruled with justice, if he hadn't done to us what he did, if he had not violated my wife's dignity, if he had truly helped us like we initially believed he would, then perhaps he would have found success in both this world and the hereafter. But people like him, the ones who turn into tyrants after gaining power, end up purchasing the wrath of God for a short-lived seat of authority. Such people are disgraced in this world, and even more so in the hereafter. Chaudhry was humiliated in this world, and surely he will face humiliation in the next. But Allah helped us. We saw a time of great hardship, but this world is temporary. It is fleeting. And with this in mind, I try to gather myself and move forward.